Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Yule, and we're going to do this evening one of the other things that I love to do with this channel. We're going to discuss a Yuletide mystery. And in this case, we're going to talk about a shipwreck. The ship I'm about to tell you about, the Rouse Simmons, sank on November 23rd of 1912, which interestingly enough was my mother's birthday. Long before my mother was born. However, I digress. So you're thinking this ship sank in late November, and many of us of a certain age will know of a song called the Edmund Fitzgerald, and what happens when the gales of November turn gloomy. Well, that line isn't in the song for no reason. Lake Michigan, all the Great Lakes, are known for eating ships in November. But this ship is pretty early for a Yule season, you might think. But it was known as the Christmas tree ship. This ship, around the holidays and leading up to the holidays and leading up to Yule season and Christmas, transported Christmas trees from Michigan to Chicago. This ship was 123 and a half feet long. And it was rated to carry 205 gross rate tons. You get 197 net rate tons after a space supposedly not usable for cargo was subtracted. It was a sailing ship, a three-masted schooner. It was 8.4 feet tall and 27.6 feet wide. This ship left Manistee, Michigan on November 23rd of 1912, and it was sailing for Chicago. Had the ship made it to Chicago, it would have docked at the Clark Street Bridge in Chicago and sold Christmas trees for 50 cents to $1 per tree directly to the public. This ship, not long before the storm that it sank it, had been towed back to port because it was riding low in the water. There was a lot of suspicion that the ship needed repairs. Additionally, there was a shortage of Christmas trees on the west side of Lake Michigan that year. The tree farms to the west of Lake Michigan had been snowed in and were unable to harvest any trees due to the weather. So the owners of the ship had a lot of incentive to push through and try to make it over to sell trees because they believed they would sell out. And they were so incentivized that they grossly overloaded the ship, and they had trees stacked on the decks, below decks, every nook and cranny they could find, they had stuffed with Christmas trees. And this also led to ice buildup on the Christmas trees. Now, it's making me cold just thinking about it. Having to grab some warm coffee there. A lot of other ships, most of them, knew there was a storm coming in and stayed docked. They didn't think it was a good idea to be out on Lake Michigan in November with an incoming storm, 60-mile-an-hour winds expected, and the weather was getting worse by the hour. Yet, there was a Christmas tree shortage to the west of the lake. Well, needless to say, the ship went down, and not only this ship, but 3 other ships were lost as well. And 2 of the 3 owners of the ship, including one Herman Schuenman, were on the ship when it went down. Herman had lost his brother, August Schuenman, to a November storm in 1898. This was 14 years before the Christmas tree ship, the Rouse Simmons, went down. For many years after the ship sank, Schuenman's wife, Barbara, and their 2 daughters continued selling Christmas trees from a boat at the dock in Chicago, but they were transported by rail and by truck. Shipping of Christmas trees across the Great Lakes was rendered obsolete by 1920 due to lowered costs of rail freight and cargo trucks on highways. So it was really only another 8 years before the Christmas tree ship wouldn't have gone again. The other 3 ships that went down in the same storm were the South Shore, the 3 Sisters, and the 2 Brothers. Now, even though the shipwreck was discovered on the bottom at 172-foot depth by a scuba diver in 1971, and the location of the shipwreck is in the National Register of Historic Places. It's located in a database of Great Lakes shipwreck sites. And the coordinates of the wreck are 44 degrees, 16 minutes, and 30.6 seconds north by 87 degrees, 24 minutes, 56 seconds, 56.4 seconds west. The NRHP reference number for this wreck is 070000197. Still, to this day, off the shore of Lake Michigan near Two Rivers, Wisconsin, near where it went down off Point Beach. People say they see the ghost of a ship loaded with Christmas trees out on the water near Yule season.